I love living in Bristol Bay because it's got a lot of open spaces. You could hunt, you could fish. The game is everywhere. The beauty is everywhere.
You're welcomed. I mean, within a year, you're allowed to go pick fish with everybody, and you talk about, oh, how do you smoke your fish, or how do you cook porcupine, or how many berries did you get? And you're just part of the life here.
I've had such a great experience here. BBAHC has provided me opportunities to experience real Alaska and to meet some of the most amazing people that make rural Alaska special. The environment is absolutely incredible. The outdoor opportunities are like nowhere else in the world.
I love the Bristol Bay region. It's home, you know. I think every single village feels like home to me because of the people and their hospitality. I get a phone call asking them, you know, if I'd like to come over for a steam or berry picking if the weather's nice.
This is a big big family. We have our squabbles, but when time comes, we pull together.
This is home, and I love the people here in Bristol Bay.
I've lived here now 17 years, and I thought I'd be here for 2 years, but after I lived here for a couple of years, I couldn't think of living anyplace else.
This is where I was raised and grew up, and it's beautiful here. And everybody's so nice, everybody knows me around the surrounding villages, and it's my home.
It's the peace, the quiet, and this is the beautiful part of living in the communities.
To live here, you have to love the outdoors, you have to love Alaska, and you have to be flexible.
The Bristol Bay area has a rich history of providing healthcare services to its many communities throughout the region. In the 1800s, explorers from Russia, England, France, and Spain came to Bristol Bay seeking to take advantage of the region's rich natural resources.
Fisheries and fur trading became an established industry, and with them came diseases from which the native population had no natural immunities. The results were devastating. Smallpox, pulmonary disease, and influenza would eventually wipe out 1/4 of the western Alaska's population.
Well, that epidemic hit them, and it just wiped out the whole town.
There was 400 people when they first came into Perryville, and all died off.
In 1913, Dr. L.H. French opened a hospital in Kanakanak in response to the epidemics and dire need for medical care facilities. The Spanish flu of 1918 was the most lethal epidemic of all, leaving several villages completely abandoned.
The orphanage came into being because of the 1918-1919 flu epidemic that killed so many adults. So a lot of children from Bristol Bay area grew up in the orphanage that was out here at Kanakanak. My dad was brought up in that orphanage.
Children came from all stretches of the state to seek refuge at the orphanage. Many grew up and settled in Dillingham, creating the melting pot of Aleut, Eskimo, and Athabascan culture we see today. In the 1940s, the government began intermittently providing medical treatment to residents. This was mostly done through health or hygiene boats.
They came in every spring, around late April or May.
Every time it came, my mom made sure the whole family went over there to see the doctors.
All these people had to go out there in skiffs and that to go see the doctors and the dentist.
I think they had pretty much of everything because they did x-rays and they did shots and that.
Later, local residents began to work as volunteer health aides. Some were trained by missionaries, traveling nurses, or physicians, others through books and trial and error.
When I was a kid, our parents and grandparents were the doctors, actually.
I used to order books for myself to teach myself everything that I can learn.
Like somebody had a pain or ache, or out come the doctor book. And when my mom was going to have babies, out come the doctor book again.
I used to run the hospital down here when the doctor left, but he labeled all the medications and everything, and I never killed nobody.
Most worked out of their own homes and often incorporated local traditional remedies with the new modern medicine.
I remember my mom would always use, if someone had a sore throat, a strep throat, my mom would use plants from outside.
Transportation, communication, and supplies were often hard to come by or non-existent.
We didn't have radios and telephones and all that in those days. And our pigeons were all down.
And we didn't get doctor visits very often. We didn't even have a runway. We had emergency, it had to be on the lake, one of the bigger lakes, or on the ocean when it was calm by a seaplane.
The only transportation they had was by dog team.
In 1973, the Bristol Bay Tribes formed the Bristol Bay Area Health Corporation, making it the first tribal organization in the U.S. to do so under the Indian Self-Determination and Education Assistance Act. Over the last several decades, advancements in telecommunication, air support, medical services, and training have changed the face of healthcare services in rural Alaska. Today, BBAHC is the largest year-round Bristol Bay employer and one of the 100 largest businesses in Alaska.
Running water and electricity and computers, and yeah, we've come a long ways into the modern world. So.
Kanakanak Hospital has come a long way since it was founded in 1913. It is now a fully accredited 16-bed, 24-hour medical, pediatric, and obstetrical care facility. It also provides programs to the Bristol Bay community, including inpatient alcohol and substance abuse treatment, emergency medical services, WIC and infant learning program, as well as a wellness center dedicated to mental health services.
It is not just a hospital, it's not just a clinic. The hospital is the base for care that extends through a huge region. Platinum, Good News to the west, north, all the way down to the Chigniks. 27 native villages, Yupik, Athabaskan, Aleut communities.
Technology has really changed healthcare services in Alaska. A big world of difference. We went from the Stone Age to the Space Age.
We have a College of American Pathology certified laboratory with blood products and the latest tests that allow us to diagnose our patients, treat our patients, and stabilize those patients that may need to go to a higher level of care in Anchorage or Seattle.
Now we have a huge X-ray department.
We've added a CT scanner, which has improved our diagnostic capability, our ability to take care of trauma patients. We have the Community Health Aid Program, which is unique to Alaska.
The Community Health Aid Program is considered the backbone of our healthcare system. It's largely in the villages, and they operate out of village clinics. There's certified people who are able to provide all sorts of care to the people of that community under the direction of physicians and a statewide training program.
Being a community health aide means that I am the eyes, ears, and hands for the doctors.
Technology has helped us here. We now have the bandwidth, the capability to do real-time video conferencing.
Telemedicine, it's a system where we can communicate with the doctors. We're able to take pictures, listen to the heartbeat, or look at the ear and everything. We're able to communicate better with the doctors, and they have a better understanding of what service we need to provide for each patient.
The health aides go through a very rigorous tested course. They have sessions which consist of formal didactic education. They also have preceptorships where they work with mid-levels in facilities like ours in the clinic, seeing patients with actually hand-to-hand contact.
Even with excellent training and improved technology, providing vital medical care in remote Alaska has its challenges.
Everything I did then was all volunteer. Night or day, if somebody needed me, then I'll go and help.
When you live in a village, you have to be prepared for everything.
Situations come up and I have to respond.
If the weather was real bad and foggy, you couldn't bring a plane in.
We took care of everything from shooting, stabbing, airplane crashes, you name it.
You have to be everything. You have to wear a lot of hats.
I delivered 22 babies, one in an airplane. I said, don't push until after you get to Dillingham. 20 minutes outside of Dillingham, and the baby was born in 41 Romeo.
Last year I had a girl get 3 teeth knocked out, and even though I didn't do a live splint on a real patient, I had to do it and, to save this girl's teeth.
It's a big responsibility because it's like you have one big family of 200 and something people that you're responsible for.
It was actually a demanding, heart-wrenching job in the village, but I don't think I would trade it for any other position.
It taught me so much about life. It gave me a great education, not only about medical stuff and how to administer medical care, but it taught me how to live with other people. It gave me an opportunity to travel and meet people in my region that I would never have had an opportunity otherwise.
I want to make a difference here.
Becoming a health aide is my way of giving back to the community.
What I love about being a health aide is helping the people. I love it when I help a sick child and I see them the next day or a couple of days later and they're better.
A couple family members that says, we didn't know oral health education. I'm glad you showed us now. Now my family has a better smile. That makes me feel good.
I think it's important that more Native Alaskans truly participate in the health care of their own people.
A lot of positions available, and I see that the community members are more comfortable with the people they know.
I would love to see these younger people come back here and be a health aide, be a practitioner, and make this a better place to live for ourselves.
When we talk to our community health aides out in their villages, if they have a really ill patient, we can send a plane from here at Dillingham to whatever village we need to go to. We will send an EMT, an emergency medical technician, and frequently a registered nurse with the medevac plane. Now, once that patient gets here, we do an evaluation, an examination. If the patient is ill enough, we may have to send them to Anchorage.
275 miles from Anchorage, we're literally 2 hours, 3 hours from the nearest tertiary care center for the nearest operating room. One of the unique issues that we have here is our ability to try and diagnose rapidly, transport patients in various weather, but utilizing all the resources that we can to try and make sure that patients receive the best care that they can within the resources that we have.
The thing that is mind-bending about coming here is that you do everything.
We have a unique practice. We have some things that you'll never see in the lower 48.
In private practice, I didn't so much as set a broken finger because you just referred that off to the orthopods. Here, you do lots of stuff, and that has really allowed me to utilize my training much more so than I ever dreamed possible.
I deliver babies. I work in the ER. I stabilize and transport patients. And I'll be in clinic today. I have some patients I'll be seeing shortly. It's never boring.
Probably my favorite family practice anecdote was a trip to Port Haydn. I got there and I did a first prenatal on a woman, fine family practice thing to do. I did the well child check on her child, who was maybe a year old, another fine family practice thing to do. And she said, by the way, my husband hit the dog with the car. Would you drop by and check him out? He's not walking so well. And so after work, I walked over to her house, and as it turned out, her dog had a dislocated hip. She sat at the head, and I pulled on the leg and relocated the dog's hip.
My favorite part about working here is working with the staff.
The people that work here are hardworking.
They're honest, and most importantly, they care about people.
Qualified and trained people, I mean, that's really the bottom line. And people with a good attitude, love to smile, like to work with people, are there to help, because that's what we're in, the helping field.